Hey, thanks so much for checking out the Second Students West Campus podcast. We are a youth ministry located in Katy, Texas, which is right outside of Houston, Texas. So we're so glad that you have found us and you've joined us today. My name is Ryan Herzog, and you're going to hear more from me in a minute. But I just wanted to give you a quick, brief guide of what you're about to hear. This is an excerpt from our high school Bible study this past Sunday, where 4 of us youth pastors, we just sat down and talked life, ministry, family, all the goodness about church and life with Jesus. So check it out. We're so glad you're here. Here we go.
We want to just talk life, and we want to talk church and ministry. And I want you guys to really, I would take notes if I were you, because 3 of the 4 people up here really have some good insight to life. And so those 3, I'm the 4th. They have some good insight to life. And, I apologize I sound like this, but there's been some pollen in the air, and I got a little sick, so bear with me. If you pray, you can pray that I start feeling better. Thank you. So, Seth, we're just going to start out asking some questions, and in a little bit, you guys will have questions that you can ask as well. And so if you have some that are legit, we would like to hear them. And Ryan will go out into the crowd, and you can ask that. So,
that's good.
Really, Ryan, what are you drinking over there? What's in the cup?
Coffee.
What kind of coffee?
It's made in the cafe.
What does that say on the side of it?
It's basically my gauge if I'm ready to hang out or talk with people. In the beginning, it says no because I haven't drank any of it. And then I'm like almost there right now.
Where are you at right now? Close?
I'm at almost there.
Crowd. Show the camera.
The camera
will pick it up.
Yeah, right there. See that, Lisa?
Yeah, it looks good. Looks like a church.
Oh,
it's great. Where is that cup in our cafe?
Yeah.
Wow, I didn't even
helps people figure out when they're ready to interact or not.
That's great. That's good. Back to Seth. Seth, tell me about yourself. How long you been on staff, and who is going to win the Giants versus Panthers game today? Go ahead, Seth.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it. We'll start in reverse. The Panthers are going to beat the Giants today by 2 touchdowns.
Good chance.
To which Ryan will have to wear. We'll get to that in a little bit. The Panthers jersey for multiple weeks. I am originally from Charlotte and moved here to Charlotte, North Carolina. Moved to Houston, Texas 5.5, almost 6 years ago. And I've been on staff since then as an intern, and then been a part of just some awesome things. So it's been 5.5, going on 6 years, and but yeah, I've been in high school ministry the entire time. So I've absolutely loved it.
Awesome. And your wife?
Oh yeah, I've got a wife. Forgot, it's part of my life. It's a big part, actually.
I've done that, but it's okay.
It's a huge part of my life. Erica, seriously, my wife is Erica. She as well came.
Not my wife. My wife's Erica too, so just be careful.
Yeah, it's with a C-K, not a K.
Yeah.
Well, your wife has a K in it, but not just.
Yeah, she's hot.
So Erica's from Richmond, Virginia. We met at Liberty University in Lynchburg at school. Came down here together. I actually moved here to be an intern because of my wife. I wanted to date her. Didn't really care about being an intern. Didn't really care about working. It's truly. Just wanted to date my wife that summer, and a lot of things changed. God said, "What's up?" And she broke up with me twice, and it was great. And we've been married for 4 years. She is the rock of our family. She is phenomenal. I love her to death.
Outside of Jesus, she is the rock.
Well, of course, yes.
I was just trying to keep it.
Yeah, he's number 1, but she's close.
Yeah, heck yeah.
Yeah.
Ryan Herzog, tell us about yourself.
Like you said, my name is Ryan. It's funny, actually. I had another thought in my head. I came to second for the same reason Seth did.
For Erica?
His wife.
I knew it.
Wow.
Hey, this is the first time he's ever admitted.
Hey, this is funny, but truly, his wife, Erica, dating at the time. Seth didn't really like me at the time, but she invited me to come to second. And told me that I should come as well, and that's why I came. So I wasn't trying to. I promise you, I was not trying to date her though.
Hey, that is true, because whenever we were going to hire Ryan as an intern, Seth was on staff, and Seth was like, "I don't like that guy," and I was like, He's a nice guy. I don't understand."
Yeah,
I get it.
It's all come out.
I get it.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry, Ryan. Go ahead.
But yeah, I grew up my whole life in New York. Went to school in Virginia, then came here as an intern 6 summers ago. Started in junior high, loved junior high ministry with Evan, actually working for Evan. Then moved over and started working for Seth in high school ministry. And now kind of working for everyone in both ministries and getting to be a big part of what we do on Wednesday nights and live, and getting to kind of lead and be a part of that is what I'm doing now. I think the coolest thing for me and my story is that I was older than most of you in this room right now when I accepted Christ as my Savior. I was 18. I was 9 days before my 18th birthday, so I was a senior in high school. I'd gone through a lot. Self-inflicted a lot, truly. Made a lot of bad choices and decisions. And 9 days before my 18th birthday, was at a breaking point, and God said, hey, why don't you start following me? And then from that day, cut off everything I was doing, drugs, alcohol, sin, as much as you can think of what you could think of, cut it off cold that day, and have not gone back since. And it's really a testament to what God's done, truly, over the last, 8 years now? I've been on staff here for 6 summers, or no? I'm not good at math. 9 years. Evan, help me out. But so that's a little bit about my background, I guess. So it encourages me, I'll say. I say that to say this. I hope that encourages you, because it encourages me to see so many of you following Christ, loving Jesus, sharing him with your friends, because that's how I came to know Christ. I had a friend of mine in high school share with me about Jesus at school, on the phone, at work, multiple times, kept sharing with me about Jesus, and eventually I said yes to Christ, and that's why I'm here today.
Why don't you talk about that, Evan, or whoever wants to talk about it. Evan's been on staff for how long? Go ahead. Go real quick. You talk about yourself, and then we'll move on.
Yeah, I started my 8th year in May, and so I worked with junior high and high school, been junior high pastor for 6 years, started my 6th year, and I met Christ in 3rd grade. I really sat down and prayed, keep me from going to hell, and it became real in 11th grade, actually while I was at a party, and so that was, real thing. I've grown up a little bit since then. I would say a little bit because it's true. It's just a little bit, and I've gotten married and have 2 kids, and they're all beautiful people. I lucked out.
And so you've been on staff for how long?
7.5 years.
7. Seth?
5.5.
5.5. Ryan?
4.5. I think you're. Yeah, I don't know.
So we've been doing ministry together for a long time. I've been on staff for 11 years, was a junior high pastor for 4 years, and then everybody left, and so I was the last one standing, and they put me in charge. Oops. Big mistake.
It's been great.
And so I'll probably be here 11 more years doing the same exact thing. I absolutely love student ministry for a lot of reasons. I could get into that. But what I love most about my job personally is, number one, preaching, and number 2, leading my team. I get to lead an amazing group of people. You guys know a lot of them. You know them probably a lot better than you know me, and I love that because they're able to be in your life. And so I want you guys to hear from all of us some different things about life. Ryan, I want you to hit on leading people to Christ and not to church.
That's really good. There's a lot there. Leading people to Christ and not to church. I think oftentimes as believers, what we do, and I know myself even, I try to push and pull people to come to church with me. I try to get people that I meet. Maybe it's some of you. Maybe it's some of you. Maybe it's people I've met at your schools or at school lunches or at events or games, or maybe there was a person I met yesterday actually when I talked to them about church, and she was my hairdresser, I guess, if that makes sense. But and I talked to her a lot about church.
Stop. I can't let you keep going. Don't say she's my hairdresser.
Is that I don't know.
Dude, that is like,
Girls go to a hairdresser.
I'm going to go to my hairdresser.
Sorry, Meredith.
Where's, like, sports, what?
I didn't know.
Just you got your hair
I got my
lady.
hair cut.
Sports
My-
lady to cut your hair.
You went
Was
to
it at her
sports
house?
clothes?
My hair cutting lady.
Hey,
You're stylist.
That's stylist.
that's
yeah.
good. Stylist.
Yeah.
Sure.
I have, because I have a closed
As you
style.
were. Sorry.
Say the lady that cut your hair.
But what I was saying was that I, in the conversation yesterday, I kept trying to figure out ways that I could push her to come to church today, maybe. Or I kept trying to figure out ways that I could kind of pull her in the direction of which God, maybe she can get an encounter with God. And then last night when I got home, and after this past weekend being away and hearing some different things, I just felt like I missed an opportunity, truly. That I have the power of God inside of me, that I have the Holy Spirit inside of me because I am a believer in Jesus Christ, and I have a message to tell. I'm a carrier of the gospel, of the good news, that it is my job not to bring people to church because the building's not going to do anything for anyone, but it's my job to show them who Jesus is. And I could have taken the opportunity in that moment to share Jesus, but instead I tried to share our church. And it goes both ways. I think that I'm not telling you not to invite people to church. You need to do that. That's a good thing to do. But you have the power of God inside of you if you're a believer in Jesus Christ, and that's called the Holy Spirit. And he has given you abilities and talents and words to say and to share. And he's giving you truly, this is something that I've learned from Michael, and he'll maybe even hit on this. He's given you a story. Each one of you have a story of what God's done in your life, and that's the most powerful thing that you can share with someone to then lead them to Christ. Because anyone can argue with the science of it, all that big head knowledge that we want to talk about, but they can't argue that one day when I was 17 years old that I was living a lifestyle of horrible sin and alcohol and drugs and all of this stuff, and I didn't want to be here. And then in a day, I began walking with Jesus, and my life was changed. I had a purpose, I had a hope, but you can't argue with that. And I would encourage each of you that you have that story. And maybe it's not like mine, and it doesn't need to be like mine. But you all have a story to tell, and I would encourage you to share your story, to share with people about Jesus, and then invite them to church.
I think, Evan, you want to hit on that at all? Sharing, I forgot what the question was. Bringing people to Christ versus bringing people to church.
Yeah, what I would say, even when I was a young kid, it was all about getting people to church so the pastor could tell them about Christ. And I felt for a long time it was my job to bring my friends to church so my pastor could tell them about Christ, because I didn't truly understand that it was my job to tell people about Christ. Christ didn't tell every pastor, didn't give every pastor Matthew 28, the Great Commission. He gave everyone the Great Commission. And it's everyone's job to take the Great Commission on our shoulders, because Ephesians 2:10, we are God's workmanship, that we are created in God's image. We are those bones from the dust that God breathed in the motion. We have his power. We have his spirit. And we, as the church, are the ones to carry Christ to everyone.
That's good. That's really good. That's really good.
Hey, y'all are learning gold right there. I'm telling you, that is gold. I really feel like, don't look at it.
It didn't happen.
If it broke, it broke. Stupid phone. I forgot to say. My phone fell and I got stressed. Seth, how would you compare this youth group, which is what this is, believe it or not, to your youth group growing up? Like tell us about your youth ministry experience growing up. In 30 seconds, go. I'm just kidding. You can go all day.
Here we go. No, so growing up, I was a pastor's son and still am to this day. And my dad he's a worship pastor. So I grew up in church, around church. I was kind of, in my opinion, just had to be there. It wasn't really a choice in my mind at times for a lot of the times that I was there. We moved around. My dad lost his job, so we went to a couple different churches growing up. But I spent my high school years at the same church. And throughout that time, smaller church, just kind of an old country church, if you will, smaller, but a great feel. The student ministry itself, there weren't many students involved. There was nothing like this. I mean, this would have been, there was no thought of something like you guys being here on a Sunday morning. And so for me, number one, being the pastor's kid, I felt like I had eyes on me. Also trying to kind of find myself in that. So I was always getting in trouble, always doing crazy things around the church. There was this sweet old lady that was a part of our church that would always scare. And I feel horrible about that now, but at the moment, during the times of
what was her name?
It felt awesome. Her name was Miss Daisy.
That's good.
Miss Daisy. That's
beautiful name.
Also my dog's name. So you can tell I feel really horrible about that. And I had to name my dog after her.
And she was blind, wasn't she?
She had.
Wait, did you really?
She was not blind. She had one eye that.
His dog, or
Anyways.
Wait, your dog has one eye, or Miss Daisy?
Miss Daisy. Miss Daisy had the keys to the church.
Okay.
See, we would never do that here. But Miss Daisy, she unlocked the doors at 6 a.m. And I saw my dad scare her once, and I thought, that's awesome. I'm going to do that. Because my dad's an awesome, normal person. He loves to joke around, and so I was doing the same thing and would get in so much trouble. It was beautiful. I turned the power off once at church on a Wednesday night of the whole church. It was great. People freaked out. It was like a stampede. It was awesome. But my youth ministry was difficult. Truly. I never really was able to connect, number one, with a youth pastor because I had 4 youth pastors in 4 years of high school. One left to go do another type of ministry in the north. One had to move on from our church because of some sin in his life that was found out, that came to light. The other 2 had left to go to different churches as well. And so a lot of turnover there, and so I was never able to really connect. Like I can't look back and go, man, there was one youth pastor in my life who spoke truth to me. It really wasn't. And part of it was on me, but I think that turnover as well was difficult. And so I think, I don't know what this is like, and I know that we have staff that come and go, but I would value that. And then also adult ministry or adult presence in our ministry was not a real thing. Like we didn't have adult leaders who led small groups. I mean, there were maybe 2 or 3, and it was spotty if they were there or not. And so very difficult to connect with some type of person who could pour into my life, and then going along with that whole eyes are on me type feeling. And so it created this difficult place in my life where I was a fake person.
Yeah, and I want to encourage all of you, and again, this isn't, hey, look at us, but it actually is. You guys have something so special. You have me. I've been here 11 years, as most of you were, coming up through children's ministry. You have Evan has been here 7 years. 7, Ryan 5, Seth 6, 7. Guys, that is rare. Let me just tell you this. The average, and I know that like people say, well, Michael's the youth pastor. Well, truly, we're all your youth pastors, and that goes into Meredith, and that goes into Kale, and that goes into Tay, and that goes into everybody, Zach, and our whole team. And what you need to understand is that the average length of a youth pastor in a church, is anybody know? Take a guess. I'm sorry? 3 years? 4 years? If you get this right, I'll be so impressed. 7 months. The average length of a youth pastor at a church is 7 months. And it's always been my goal to crush that stat, and I have. I've been doing youth ministry for 18 years. That's a long time. Full time. Okay? And these guys, the same thing. People are like, well, Michael, why don't you go and start another church, or why don't you go and be a senior pastor in another church? And the truth is, I've had multiple options to do that. Multiple options to go and be and take over a church and to do all this stuff. But the truth is, man, I don't really want to right now. God hasn't really made it clear that that's what I want to do, because I see what God is doing in here, and I see what he's doing through all of you and through my team that I love. This is my family. And so I want you to kind of remember that. As you guys graduate and you move on, you're going to be like, man, that was some good times. And I want you to, and this is a word I've made fun of in the past, but I really am enjoying saying this. I want you to really lean in more to your student ministry that we have, that God has for you. And the people that pray and work so hard at this church so that you can have a place to grow your roots in Christ, so that when you graduate, man, your walk with him is awesome. So don't miss it. Man, be all in. Like, do whatever you can at the church. Like, come and hang out with us. Get to know us more. And so I just think it's so cool. The same thing for me in youth ministry. Actually, not at all. I had one youth pastor growing up when I decided to go, and he was awesome. He changed my life. I wanted to be him. And I guess I kind of got to. He was a little bit crazier than me, which is unbelievable. But I wanted to be like that guy. And that's the reason I'm in ministry, is because this guy named Louis Giglio was preaching. And he said, if you want to go to ministry, stand up. And I stood up. I was like, oh, no, what am I doing? And he said, if you're going to do this, you need to really do it. And I'm still doing it.
Just to play on that a little bit.
You watch Ryan. Y'all, watch body language, okay? Ryan, the whole time I was talking, was doing this.
Ready to speak, man.
Which means, and he was moving a little bit like, hey.
He got
By
a
the
word.
way, we have a cougar in the room. There's a cougar in the room. If you're a cougar, stand up. Oh, there you go. Sorry. I got I don't know what was going to happen in that moment.
I was stressed.
Ryan, you still have a word.
Let the real cougar stand up. There you go. Thank you.
No, but
That's
I,
funny. I'll look back on that and think that was funny. I thought Todd Taylor was going to stand up. Go ahead.
I don't know what to say.
Sorry.
I can go.
I'll jump in.
And I've been
Hold
doing it
on,
a long time.
I got something good. I promise.
Can I go next after Ryan?
I wanted to add on this. Truly, this is really good. Like you said, you've been doing this for 18 years. Been at Second Baptist Church 11 years. Loving students. Saw a lot of people come from really young, probably in this room. Saw them. I think that part of that is the way that not just you lead our team, not just the way you lead our student ministry, but a bigger part of that is who you are outside of this building, who you are off of the stage, how you lead yourself and your family on a daily basis in your walk with Christ. I want you to understand something, and he's probably would never say this, but the person that you see on the stage right now and the person you see on the stage on Wednesday nights off the stage is an even better, if that even makes sense, is a better Christian. His time with the Lord every day is amazing. Like, you want to know about discipline, you want to know why he's able to speak and is anointed and blessed the way that he is on stage, is because the way he lives his life off of the stage. And I think it's something that the three of us up here, we try to model at times. We try to, a lot of people want the stage, but they don't want to do the work when no one's watching in order to have the stage when everyone's watching. And this guy does. So I want you to share a little bit in this room, maybe a couple of things that you do on a weekly basis, on a daily basis, in your walk with God, in your life. I mean, it's not just the spiritual stuff, but you do some physical stuff and things like that that have helped you maintain and sustain your walk and your ministry over the last 18 years.
Thank you. Number one, when I wake up and my feet hit the floor, I pray. Number one. Before I look at my phone, not every time, but most of the time. Once my feet hit the floor, or once I turn and I wake up, I am praying right there in that moment. Not out loud, because I have a bear sleeping next to me. Her name's Erica. She's about 4'9", and could crush my soul if I wake her up. And so that's number one. I start my day with him, and I'm not, I don't like talking about this stuff, but you asked me to do it. So that's what I do. Now I've switched up my devotion time to not doing it at the church in the morning. I do it at my house. My wife she bought me a little desk and a little light and all the stuff in my room, so I can, which I've been wanting for forever. I've never had that. And so for the past month, I've been able to read my Bible after I go to the bathroom. I read my Bible right there. And the reason for that is this, and I realize this, and you need to listen to this. I don't do it to be showy, but I want my kids and my wife to know that I'm spending time with the Lord. Because that's the reason, one of the reasons I'm doing what I'm doing, because I always saw my grandfather reading the Bible, and I didn't know what that meant. And so now I'm able to do that. And again, it's not being showy, but it's being an example. And maybe you need to do that for your family. Maybe you need to be that example in reading the Bible. I try to work out every day, and I have failed at that the past year and a half, and that's real. I'm being very honest with you. I've really struggled as far as working out, as far as an inward battle of eating. This is real life. And but I want to go work out, but I haven't done a good job of that. And before I get out of my truck, when I go work out, I always read Jesus Calling. It's an app. I read it, and a lot of people say don't read that devotional because Jesus didn't say those things, and I tell them to shut up. I don't really care what you think. It's a great devotional. During the day, I keep my head on a swivel, constantly looking for people that need Jesus. Constantly. And you can just tell. When you're praying and you live in a place of discernment, you can know when people need Jesus. And you just ask them. You just ask them, hey, do you know Christ? Do you go to church? I mean, we were in Atlanta this past week, and we asked our sweet waitress. She was from Katy, believe it or not. Like, what? She's in Atlanta. So constantly looking for ways to share Christ. I don't get mad when I'm driving, ever. If you get mad when you're driving, grow up. Adults, I hope this hits you real hard. Because the truth is, when you're in the car, you act like you're not with Christ. But really, he's the same everywhere you are. I never get mad while I'm driving, ever. I don't say that to brag. I say that because that should change your life. Why? Who cares? It's not a big deal. You can't do anything about it except get shot. So I try to stay calm when I'm driving because I drive a lot. I tell you that because I feel like you want to know what I do.
Yeah.
It's something I do. I don't get mad when I drive. When I come to work, I love on my family. These people. I love on them. And that may be hard love. It may be like, hey, what are you doing? You need to go home and change your clothes, which I've done to my staff before. True?
Yes, sir.
It may be, what the did you say on stage the other day, Seth? It may be hard love, but it may be good love as well. The way I structure my life is God, family, ministry. If you don't work in a church, it should be God, family, your job. God, family, your job. You should never work on Wednesdays as a teenager, and you should never work on Sundays as a teenager. Ever. Why? Because those are the most important days of your life when it comes to church, when it comes to your walk with the Lord. Don't work on Sundays and Wednesdays. And if they don't hire you, say, sorry, I can't work here. When you're an adult, don't work on Sundays. Don't. If they don't hire you, okay. Because that's going to show you what's most important in your life, and God will honor that. Look at Chick-fil-A. They're not open on Sunday, and they're one of the best fast food chains in the country, and they're not open on Sunday. Don't work on Sunday. God took a day off. Your day off shouldn't be Monday. I'm sorry. It shouldn't be, I don't know what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying. God, family, ministry, when I go home at 5 o'clock or 4 o'clock or 3, whenever I get home, this thing is away from me. People try to call me, text me, all this stuff all the time. I will not answer it unless I can. You can call me. I may not answer, and it may make you mad. I do not care because I'm with my family. I'll call you back. It's 2018, and if I can answer it, I do. But I'm not available to everybody 24/7 like some pastors are. Understand this. I'm not going to lose my family by saving yours. We had a girl commit suicide that was in our ministry 2 years ago. She committed suicide this past weekend. Horrible. I'd been gone for a week. Did I go to her house yesterday? I didn't. I went to my house to spend time with my family. We will go to her house today. God, family, ministry. Before I go to bed, my wife and I go to bed at the same exact time every single night. We lay down in the bed at the same time. We've been doing that for 8 years now. I don't stay in the living room and watch sports. I don't play video games at all because I'm not a child. I spend time with my family. I spend time with my wife. And we go to bed at the same exact time. And before we fall asleep, every single night for the past 8 years, as long as we've been together, I kiss her on the forehead. I pray for her most of the time, not all the time. And I say, I love you. And we go to sleep. Do we do a devotion together? No, we've tried. It's horrible. It doesn't work. Okay, we don't read I don't know what you would read, but we don't do that. It's impossible. Anyways, the biggest thing is this, y'all. You want me to say this? The truth is, and I'm not bragging, but I work really hard. I work really, really, really hard to be like Christ. When I'm no longer here anymore, I don't want someone to say, man, he was a great preacher. Man, he was a great youth pastor. Man, he could whatever. I want him to say that he loved Jesus with all of his heart. That's it. I don't want Seth to have to lie at my funeral. That's real. You're not going to see me at a bar drinking alcohol. You're not going to see me at, I don't know what else, other things there are. I mean, that's just how I am. As far as I try to, well, I'll shut up. No. That's it. That's all I got. That took 30 minutes.
That's good. I think it's really, really good. One of the things that stood out to me most, truly, I said this, and I don't want to hog this at all, but talked about Wednesdays and Sundays for them, about how making that a priority. I think that that's something that I've found in my life as I make habits, and priorities in my life. I'm about to get married. I didn't mention that in the beginning, but in February. And one of the things, this past weekend, I think it was, Evan's son had a birthday party on Saturday morning. And one of the things I try to build into my life is that on Saturday mornings is going to be a time for me and my family. That's how it was when I grew up, but that's something that I'm going to build into my life. And I know I'm not married yet and I don't have kids, and there's going to be a lot that goes into that. But now it's about building habits in your life that are going to sustain over time, that are going to help you be like Christ. And that starts now. And you've heard this before. It goes with dating. I mean, you've heard this from the stage before. When you just date and break up and date and break up, date and break up, what are you doing? You're practicing divorce. That's all you're doing. So build habits now in your life. I wish someone would have told me this when I was 16. Build habits now in your life that protect your relationship with Christ and make it number one. Build habits now.
Evan, if you could tell your 15-year-old self anything, what would you say?
I would tell myself to get help, honestly. I mean, as a 15-year-old, I'd been struggling with, a lot of things for multiple years. And the deepest rooted sin that will forever be a part of my life, will forever be, who I am and part of my testimony, had been in my life for 4 years at this time. And I would scream and yell and probably punch myself in the face and say, get help. You're not in it alone.
What was it?
It was pornography. I was exposed to pornography in 5th grade. And it was by a friend. It was at school by a friend. My parents, they drug me to church every single Sunday. They tried to be the best they could. But the exposure's real. And that's before smartphones were a real thing. And, in 5th grade, computers were really just coming into everyone's home. That they were still big boxes. And so I would really tell myself to get help, that it's okay, that you're not alone, that you don't have to walk through it alone, that you don't have to deal with it alone, and that there are people who deal with the same things that you've dealt with that can help you.
Right? Actually, I'm tired of hearing from you. Seth? Yeah, same question. We'll go 16-year-old self.
I would tell myself that, look, Seth, you don't have to be perfect. I get emotional, but for me, that was my life. Is I think because of my personality, truly. And I know I can joke about it at times, but I'm a very regimented, organized person. And I think because of the way I grew up, just being a pastor's kid, and that means, like I said earlier, people looking at me, at least feeling that way, trying to be at times something I'm not, and trying to be perfect. I would tell myself, look, dude, because here's for me, on the outside, if you looked at my life in high school, you'd think, man, he's awesome. He crushed at Awanas, if you know what that is. He's got every single, verse that he's been given memorized. His grades are great. He plays sports, even though he's horrible at it. He gives it his all. But inside I was just dying because I tried to be perfect in everything that I did. And I felt like I expected that from my parents, and I never really had a conversation about, hey, what do you expect from me? And that was never, it was never clear to me, look, dude, you don't have to be perfect. It's okay to mess up. It's okay to sin. It's okay, to make wrong choices, to struggle with things. And so because of that, I've got to be perfect. I kept it all inside. And man, it killed me until I was 18 years old. Destroyed me. Very, very difficult for me. So that's what I would say. I would say, look, it's okay. Going on to what Evan said, that's step 2. Look, admit, hey, look, I'm not perfect. I messed up. Sin, the struggle with temptation is real. And then get help. I think that's what I would tell myself.
when did you, like, with pornography, when did you stop? Like, when is that really, like, you've realized, man, I need to really work on this? Like, what happened back in the day that?
I mean, when I met Jesus, I really started having the conviction. I really put a separation there between when I asked Jesus to get me out of hell and when I really started following Jesus, because there was a big difference in my life. 11th grade was when that really took root and that really happened, and when I really started realizing that what I was doing was wrong because of Jesus. Because Jesus calls us to be something greater than who we are. Because Jesus calls us to be separate from sin, separate from evil, separate from darkness. Because Jesus can take us and save us from that darkness.
I love that. You're seeing four guys up here that, man, we got struggles and issues and problems. I go to a counselor. Y'all know this. Once a month, I struggle with anxiety. I haven't told everybody this, but I do. I struggle with anxiety, and I'm on medication for it. That's probably the first time I've said that from the stage. Social anxiety disorder is what I struggle with, which is unbelievable because that means I don't like to be around large crowds. And but I'm doing so much better with it, like seriously recovering like crazy. I've had some great conversations with people they're now in counseling and getting help. And you're gonna hear real from on this stage from everybody. We're just gonna be honest with you. And it changed my life. I've been doing this now for a year, and my life, I feel so free. I can't even tell you the freedom and the changes. I used to not like to go to parties with my wife. I used to not like to go to dinners. I used to not like to do a lot of stuff, and I just wanted to stay home. But now, it's like I enjoy those things. You're like, you're weird. I know. Okay, I get it. And but you're seeing people who, man, we all struggle with stuff, and we're real. Because understand this, salvation doesn't, you know this if you've been around me for the past month. Salvation, when you accept Christ, temptation doesn't stop. If you struggle with homosexuality and you accept Christ, the temptation doesn't go away. You're not all of a sudden, you don't have that struggle anymore. If you struggle with lying and you accept Christ, the temptation doesn't go away. It's a daily fight and a daily battle. And I want you to know this, that we love you and Christ loves you. No matter what your struggle is, your temptation is not your name. Your temptation is not your name. Your name is Christ. Your name is in Jesus. And I hope that frees some of you again. Because, man, that's sometimes we can just hate ourselves because of what the enemy wants us to think about. We got to stop having conversations with snakes, Eve. We got to stop. Hey, Ryan, answer this question, or answer this, I don't know how to say this. Isolation creates burnout. Isolation, when I say that, and I want you to think, I want you to think technology in that question. Isolation creates burnout, not just in ministry, but with your walk with the Lord. We're created for community.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, we are created to be together. I mean, we saw that in the beginning. Michael just talked about Adam and Eve a little bit at Live, if you were there, that we were created to be in community. We're created to be together. That's why this place on Sunday morning has such a purpose. Maybe you just come and you just hang out, but that's creating purpose because you're designed to do life together. You're not designed to do it by yourself. And I think as you talked about, you said with technology a little bit, we think that this is connecting us with people, but really what this is doing is it's isolating us. That we think because I can get on Marco Polo and I can laugh at Kale when he's a million miles away doing something funny, that it's creating connection. No. I would tell you that's actually isolating you, because what it's doing is it's allowing you to look, it's letting you look down, not really talk to anybody, not have communication with anybody, and I can just talk to a screen rather than to a human. when we did this the other night, we kind of looked at our screen time. And that's an app if you have an iPhone, or it's a part of your phone. And you can look at your screen time, and you can see where you're spending your time on your phone, how many times you pick it up. You know what, as I've looked at it, and not just this week, but in the past, I've seen that I pick up my phone, and I don't want to look at it right now because it'll make me mad again, but I pick up my phone almost 18 times an hour on average. Pick it up. That, like, sometimes it's just like this once, or sometimes I'm on it for like 10 minutes or 15 minutes. And I think that I find that I don't like conversations with people, so what do? Is I pick up my phone. I go to Twitter, and I think I'm having community there. I think that I spent 8 hours in the last week, and which is Evan is smart at math, so he could tell you the overall hours that there is with me being awake. So 8 awake hours on Instagram last week. I did, Ryan. That's not good. That's not creating community. That's not helping me walk in my relationship with God. That's not helping me to interact with people and to grow and to learn with people. I've learned more sitting with people than I've ever learned reading the Bible on my phone. That's true. That some people, I just read the Bible on my phone. No, I don't do that, but that's not. You're supposed to be with people, do life with people. That's why small groups, that's why we do them in this room. And maybe you've never been told that, and maybe this is a reminder for you. That's why we do small groups in here. We want to give you an opportunity to sit around, not just to answer questions that are on a page that maybe you don't even understand, but we want you to sit around and to talk life with each other, and to understand that each one of you have struggles, and truly to understand that your small group leader has struggles, but they've also walked through a lot of the struggles you have, and their purpose and their goal is to help you that you don't have to walk down those same paths. And maybe when you do, that you know what they're going to do? They're going to come up next to you, and they're going to put their arm around you and say, hey, we're going to walk through this together. See, I don't even know if this is on topic, but what we like to do as people, and especially as pastors, is we like to get up and we like to say, hey, I see your life, and I'm going to start pulling you maybe this way, and I'm going to pull you that I want you to get out of this sin, or I want to pull you to get out of what you're doing. Or maybe I'm just going to, it's not a pull, it's a push. I need to push you out of your sin. And that's what we do as friends at times. Maybe if you have friends that are non-believers, that's what you do. No, I think the Bible teaches us. The Bible says, hey, if you see someone that maybe is struggling or is having a hard time, the Bible doesn't say to push or to pull. The Bible says, hey, why don't you sit down in their life? Why don't you put your arm around them and say, hey, I know you got some struggles and some pain, but we're going to walk through this thing together. That's what it's about, and that's why we do this thing called small groups. Is we want to give you an opportunity to walk together in life, to work through issues, to get through things. Because we got issues. I mean, I've been on staff for, like I said, 5 years, and there's been real issues. I remember the day my grandfather passed away, one of the biggest role models in my entire life, and I sat upstairs in an office, and I cried, and I was upset, and I was broken. I'm getting emotional thinking about it. No one really said anything. I walked into his office, and I'm getting emotional. He didn't really say anything. He didn't say it's going to be okay. He didn't say, hey, you're going to get through this. You know what he did? He put his arm around me. And he said, it's not going to be okay at the moment. It's going to be hard. It's going to be difficult. But hey, we're going to get through this thing together, and we're going to walk through it together. And that's why we do this on Sunday morning. We have to be willing to walk with people that are standing next to us. Because if not, we get on Instagram and we're like, man, this person's life is so cool and mine is so boring. Like, if you're an adult and you own a home and you get on and you see, like, Chip and Joanna Gaines' home, you're like, man, my life sucks. Look at their house. They got shiplap. I don't even know what that is. But that's not what it's meant. It's meant for us to do life together. And what this does is that it isolates us and it helps us to compare to something that's not real. And when you really live life with people and you're real with people, then you get to see God. You get to grow in your relationship. You get to walk together. So I don't know if that answers the question, but.
That was good. I feel like I should sit by Evan now after that whole thing.
That's a good point.
That was good. Really, Ryan, I'm super proud of you.
It's good.
You know, your phones, we went to a deal, we learned a few things, and something that they said is that people are dying now 15 to 20 years younger than they were 10 years ago. And it's the truth because of this right here. It's because so many people, we are actually just just working and living on these devices, and they are killing us, legit. They are hurting our minds and our brains. I don't allow my kids to play with an iPad. You want to see someone you want to see someone really mad at a restaurant? Watch me when the family next to me has 2 kids and their kids are on their freaking iPhones or iPads with headphones on. You lazy parents. I feel that with all my heart. Somebody like, that guy's a jerk. I don't really care what you think. That's how I truly feel, because it is laziness. My kids don't hang out on iPhones and iPads all day long. Why? Because I care about their life whenever they are in high school and whenever they're out. Because I want them to be creative. I want them to go play outside and not look at, there's kids in my neighborhood, they come out and play, and they're holding an iPad or an iPhone, and they're the same age as my 7-year-old daughter. And I tell that kid to put their phone up. I'm not their parent, but I love them. Y'all remember playing outside without anything? Y'all are like the last generation that's ever going to remember that. You're the last one that's going to remember to go and like make a fort in your room with sheets. Y'all remember that stuff? Building Legos.
Good times.
Guys, you're laughing. I want you to understand the joy right now that is in that you guys are understand what's happening right now. You're thinking back to amazing fun memories. But the truth is, now people are saying, man, Fortnite. And some kids think that's really cool. Let me tell you what that game is doing to your relationships and your life. It's killing you. Why don't you be the teenager that whenever someone's, like, I'm going to be honest with you, I've never played the game Fortnite. I don't care. I couldn't even tell you anything about it except some dances that my kids do. My kids don't play Fortnite. My daughter gets on the bus, and someone says something about Fortnite, and she's like, I don't know what you're talking about. And then she tries to lead that kid to Christ. The kid comes back and says, God's not real. She says, oh, yes, he is. That's a real conversation my 7-year-old had with a kid on a bus 2 weeks ago. And it's not because of me. It's because we try to show them Christ. Students, you want to be different? You want to gain followers on Instagram? You want to be popular? Then don't look like everybody else. Don't look like everybody else. Michael, why in the world do you have 13,000 people on Instagram? Honestly, because people are bored and stupid. I've eliminated 3,000 people from following me because I don't know who they are. Just delete, block, 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 block. Why would you do that? Because I don't know them. And they don't know me. And they're weird. And they need to put clothes on. You guys want to be popular and cool? Then stop living like the world. Jesus was really, if he was on Instagram, he would have more than anybody. Why? Because people were interested in his life because he was so different. Not like different because you're trying to get attention to be different. Not like that human, a lot of you in this room. But different like he just didn't really care what people thought. And he went into synagogues and churches and turned stuff over and changed. If you look on Instagram and your posts and everything look just like everybody else, and how you're dressing and the things you're doing and the way you talk and the games you're playing, the text that you're sending and the emojis that you're using, just like everybody else, you're no different. Be a leader. Stand up for stuff. You want to do a Bible study at your school? You should want to. You should want to. Parker Eichenberger, by the way, his parents are still here and serving. I used to pick Parker Eichenberger up on Thursday mornings and take him to Wood Creek Junior High for the Bible study that he started. I would get up at 6 o'clock in the morning, drive to his house, pick him up, and take him to school because he wanted to start a Bible study at his school. Now, somehow, he's hanging out on the sidelines at the Cougars games. What about you? What are you doing? No one's doing that at your school, or if they are, you do it and do it better. Do it better. Start a Bible study that's called you're not going to go to hell if you come here. People will come. They're like, what the hell is that? Come in here, you're not going to hell. It is the whole thing with hell. Guys, people will come. People will come. And if the principal says you can't do that, say, I'm going to. I'm going to. Well, you can't. I'm going to. You can't. I'm going to. Well, you can't do it in the church or in the school. Okay, I'm going to out here. You can't. I'm going to do it on the sign. You guys, don't miss it by trying to look like everybody else. Don't miss it because the world is telling you one thing. I'm very passionate about these things. Obviously, you know that. Because I love you so much, and I don't want a bunch of students to leave here and you graduate and you're just a normal student. Be different. Take a stand. So we're going to take a few minutes and ask some. You guys have some questions. We have 9 minutes left because I talked way too much, as really Ryan did. Ryan wins the most talk award, but that was really good. If you have a question, raise your hand for any of us about anything. Try to be somewhat serious. I know I stepped on some toes today. People are like, oh, that guy's a jerk. We can agree to disagree, but I'm right.
How do you deal with your kids like not using electronics? Because do they say like, oh, well, other kids do it, why can't we?
Me?
I don't have kids, so that I know of.
Yeah, so my son Ayler, like, they do try to pull that stuff, like, well, blah, blah, neighbor, blah, blah, all this stuff. Here's what I say. I don't care what they say. I don't care what they do. I'm your daddy. That's real life. That's real. I mean, I get it. I was a kid too. I still act like one a lot of the time. Well, they get to do it. Why don't I? I mean, we as a family, we don't go out to eat ever. Like at church, everybody goes out to eat as a family. Not me. I'm going straight home, sit on the couch, especially during the fall, watching football. My kids are like, well, everybody else is going. I don't care. You're not. Why? Because I'm not. But the truth is, they're kids, you know. They want to look at an iPad, and they do every now and then. But we limit it. We have Alexa. Alexa starts a clock for 20 minutes. If they're on an iPad, it'll be for 20 minutes total that day. That's it. Compared to some of you in this room, if I grabbed your phone right now and I said, let me see your screen time, you would be embarrassed. I think we're going to do that one day. I'm just going to get up and go, give me your phone. You don't have one. All right. I'm good. Somebody else.
I thought it was pointing somewhere else.
Evan, how'd you stop, man? What did you like set goals or like how'd you stop?
Man, I'll start here. I said that it's still part of my DNA, and it's still part of who I am. It's still part of my testimony because struggles don't go away. They don't. And I mean, sitting here as a married man with 2 kids, who I love my wife and I love my kids, and I'm fully 100% devoted to them, and I am fully in on getting rid of anything that is going to tear us apart 100%. I can tell you that struggle is always there. But I can tell you what I did was I got help from people I knew that could help me. A counselor, men in my life who could come around me and encourage me and keep me accountable. And it took a lot of humility on me, and my part, because I still struggle with pride in quite a few areas. But humility is so important in all of our lives, and it became really evident when I was walking through the beginning stages of that battle and that fight.
And I think one of the greatest things if you have a struggle, the greatest thing is to say you have a struggle and say it out loud to your parents. Just say it, whatever that is. Whatever that is. Again, I'm right now on a whole nother level when it comes to helping people that struggle with homosexuality. Like, that is I have a heart for that right now. And if you struggle with that, you need to tell your parents. That's real life. Because they, believe it or not, no matter what you think, they love you so much. They love you so much, no matter what you think. And they want to help walk you through that because they don't want you to struggle on your own. If you struggle with, whatever that may be, just say it. Because here's the greatest thing, is that by you telling that story, eventually one of your friends may hear that, and you may help set them free. You may help them. There's people in this room that I've talked about anxiety, and now they are overcoming their anxiety because of me being willing to share that from the stage. Just share it. It's okay. Nobody wants you to be perfect. He still struggles with that. He fights it every day. You all struggle with stuff. All right, I'm done.
Yeah, well, I would add one more thing to that. I mean, confession. I mean, there's so many. That's exactly what you said. There's so many times in the Bible where confession is an avid part, and you need to take part in that. You need to do it.
God said to Adam, "Where are you?" Why did God say that to Adam when he knew where Adam was? Why? He wanted Adam to confess. The first time you see confession in the Bible is right there. Adam, where are you? He's God. He knows where he is. Are you kidding me? Quit playing games, God.
Well, hey, thanks so much for listening. We hope that you really enjoyed it as much as we have. And then we would love to connect with you and talk more about if that is something that you would love to do. And you can do that in two ways. You can either follow us at Second Students West on Instagram or on our Facebook page at Second Students West Campus. And we would love to connect more with you. And also make sure you're following our podcast. We podcast every Wednesday night, our message that we do at Live, which is our student service. And I think that you'd really be blessed and enjoy it. So make sure you follow us on both Spotify and iTunes and on Instagram and on Facebook. We love you and we're praying for you. We hope you have an incredible day.